For science today, we're going to start with vocabulary. We are going to roll into a quick activity, and then we have a little bit of reading for science to do, but science is going to be pretty speedy today. Sound good? Okay, so when we jump into our vocabulary, first one is weather. What's our first word?
Weather.
Weather is going to be what the air is like at a certain time and a certain place. And one thing we know about weather is it can change all the time, right? But that weather is just what the air is like during at a certain place during a certain time. Our next word is a little bit trickier. Our next word is atmosphere. What's our word?
Atmosphere.
That's going to be the layers of gases that surround our Earth. So we have multiple. The atmosphere is just what's that air surrounding the Earth, the gases that surround our Earth. Sound good? So we're going to be talking about our atmosphere and layers of our atmosphere and how that affects our weather as well. Our next word, one I know you're all familiar with, but is a little trickier, is precipitation. What's our word?
Precipitation.
Precipitation is water that falls to the ground from the atmosphere. And as we go through, we'll talk about what that precipitation can be. But it's not always going to be water in the form of water. It might be water in the form of ice. What is water that's in the form of ice as it comes from the sky? Hail. It might be frozen flakes.
Snow.
Sometimes you're going to have a mixture of those. Cooper, please get it for me. You might have a mixture of them and have sleet. You might have rain being that precipitation. But when we'll talk about different types of precipitation, but is that something you're pretty familiar with? At least different examples of different types of precipitation? Okay. Next up is air pressure. What is it?
Air pressure.
That's going to be the weight of the air pressure down on Earth. So we'll talk about how scientists find air pressure, and then we'll look at air pressure more so. Next up, we have wind. What's our word?
Wind.
Wind is simply
Moving
air. Pretty simple, right? And then last but not least, we have cloud, and we're going to look at some different types of clouds as well, and kind of how meteorologists can use clouds to help them predict the different types of weather coming. But a cloud is a collection of tiny water droplets or ice crystals that form in the air. So we're all pretty familiar with what clouds are, right?
Yeah.
We go out and we see them and we know what they are, but we're going to talk about what the different those different clouds signal and where in the atmosphere they're at. Because clouds are not all going to be in the exact same spot. So we're going to talk about that more as well. Today we are going to do a little bit of an activity that's going to look at some air pressure. And we're going to see how air can, we are going to investigate to see whether the presence of air can keep something dry. So really what we're hoping to do is see what air can do in weather. And we're going to do that today by doing just a little experiment with a paper towel and some cup and a cup and some water. Sound good? And we're going to see what air does kind of in that presence of water and see what happens. Go ahead and take out your Be a Scientist notebook and open up to page 93.